record on this computer. Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Thomas.
And this is the last, the Nerdom. This is episode 9, episode 3 of the new year. And today, we're gonna dive back into our core, our roots, and kind of hit up the comic book scene, because we haven't covered those in quite some time. And Thomas and I were talking after the show yesterday, or last week, and it felt right due to some other things. Thomas, I think it was your idea to cover the comic books, or at least it kind of sprang from a conversation we had back and forth over. But what recently happened that kind of got us to revisit some of the things, the titles that we have either recommended or we talked about future reading?
Yeah, I think we all kind of go back to our comfort zone, which is comic books. It's always great to have that floppy comic book in our hand to just read a really good story. But yeah, there's a lot of different creators coming back into comic books, and who are coming to the comic books for the first time, that are really exciting. It's a exciting time. I know a lot of people think of that are in the comic book sphere that kind of look down on this time, because it's not the highest point as far as sales, but I think the greatest thing about being at your lowest point as far as like comic books and whatnot, as creatively, you try to do as much as you can to spark that interest, so that a lot of times you're at the lowest point of comic books, a lot of the greatest things kind of come from it.
Sorry, I just wanted to mute myself there so you weren't typing.
Yeah, no problem.
I was just pulling up some other things here to get ready to go. Yeah, and one of these isn't a comic, but it kind of is. It's not technically called a comic book, but I had mentioned, and I had been wanting to read this and complete it for a while now. I guess I'll start us off with the top, and that to kind of go to your segue. If we have time to cover it, I went back and I read the complete Ben Reilly epic, The Amazing Spider-Man, and then Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely with Jamie Grant, the All-Star Superman. But more importantly, I had been struggling, not because of what's there, just because I have it's not necessarily a first pick, but it was recommended to me to it's my first manga that I'm breaking into. Speaking of making a better segue for when you start out with comic books, I know you have fond memories of childhood and your first, few storylines. I know I do, with X-Men and whatnot. But anyway, kind of pulling it back to center here and making sense. I finished Planets. And this is the manga. This is volume 1. It's only 2 volumes. I ordered the second volume to finish it out. But it's a very a glimpse of mundaneness, of kind of like the ups and downs of life, but like what life would be like in the not too distant future. Kind of the basis is 2075. And I have my notes up over here, so that's what I'm looking at. And it's kind of, the Expanse is further along, I believe, in the timeline, and it has nothing to do with this manga per se. But basically, it's just it really focuses on the characters and building those up. And there's a series that I want to cover next that the same author does, and it's Yukimura, excuse me, that's his last name, Makoto Yukimura, and the artwork, the dialogue, it's very good to me. It was it makes you feel very like the characters are very realistic. And it kind of gives you that like the growth and the challenges, overcoming fears, that kind of thing. A lot of challenges, but there's also like it really draws you in a way that comic books don't. And I don't mean how do I mean that a little bit better. So comic books are like a little bit more higher upper, like they deal with superheroes and some kind of fantastical world where there's a little bit more wonder out there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sort of like a idealized future, like idealized like justice and whatnot, maybe.
Yeah, that's like kind of like the Greek gods of old, the Odyssey and the Iliad,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like if you want to say that modern comic books are our sagas or our heroes and legends, tales of that, kind of thing. And I think that's very stylized in comic books that I have read throughout my. Of course, there's a couple here or there that are a little bit more nitty gritty, have nothing to do with superpowers or superheroes or that kind of thing, but they still are extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Things that you couldn't get into. And maybe this, if I can think about it later, there is a YouTube series that like where no, excuse me, there was a blog where they covered like what would happen, like they would apply real world law to like the actions of like a Batman or Superman or Wolverine or Cyclops or X-Men, that kind of thing. It's very interesting. It's very old, but in any case, that's kind of the opposite. I think this manga anyway is the opposite. And there's like they call it the slice of life kind of thing. And the artwork, I really enjoyed it. It's very crisp. It's not really action heavy. So the basis is like you follow these two main characters, and essentially in the not too distant future, humanity has extended itself out to the solar system, to the moon. I think Mars too, but I don't think I'm to that part yet. But anyway, the moon, and basically they're space custodians, right? So they have to take the garbage because it's very dangerous to have all this stuff floating around, and they basically kind of push it all in and make it go down, into to fall down to the earth or whatever, so it doesn't hurt anything. Like over a certain size, it's a different thing. But anyway, it's
so the just a question. So the artwork, is it sort of like the classical manga with the big eyes and
let me try to find one. I would say no, I would not say so. I would say it's more about so I gotta hold it in the right way. I would say it's more I'll just pick a random page here, and you can kind of see it's just, I don't know. I don't really think that if I think what you're talking about for manga, for big eyes or overly drawn characters. No, this is very, their eyes get bigger, but if they are, it's for like the emotion or from the scene, that kind of thing. But otherwise, it's just very, very normal. There is some high drama here or there, but for the most part, it's very well done. And they do have color panels here or there, but it's just kind of there. Not very good angle.
or like highlights the big impactful situations, maybe.
Yeah, it's very balanced. It's it goes from covers the mundane parts of life to happiness to sad. It kind of takes you on this journey, and of course I'll be able to give a more fuller, complete review of it. But I mean, as it stands, go ahead.
One of the things I noticed with Japanese manga is that they have a really good understanding, and you could back it up with maybe with this, which I haven't read yet, where the action is very well choreographed in the scenes, in the pages, and the the dialogue is very well choreographed as far as how they organize the page, so that the where everything is very uh, ergonomic as far as how it all places out. It's very well placed. There's the way you see the scenes in the pages, the action really kind of
Mhm.
flows from page to page. They have a really good understanding of the flow of action.
They do. They do. I was. It was a nice break from what I'm used to, or for the comic books that I tend to gravitate toward, I guess,
Hmm.
because we all have our own type, right?
Right.
But I really enjoyed it. There is another series that Yukimura does, called Vinland Saga. I think it's much
Hmm.
longer, and that's the thing about manga is, and I learned this from my brother-in-law, who that's his bread and butter. That's his jam.
Hmm.
That they're these there are manga that are years and years long, like where it's
Hmm.
just a big, massive, sprawling epic, and
Yeah.
then but he recommended this one to me a while ago too, like, because like, look, it's just easier to kind of jump into. It's
Hmm.
not like you don't have to feel like you have to, you're jumping in the middle of a raging river, or kind
Hmm.
of lost and kind of being a space cadet to do it. But and I really I will go on after I finish volume 2. I'll come
Hmm.
back and I'll kind of do like the second half of this, but it has me hooked.
Hmm.
I like it. I like it for different
Hmm.
reasons than I like our regular comic book stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, and I don't know that I will get all that into manga. Like, for one thing, this is the very first one. I do have a little bit
Hmm.
of history with some animated stuff, but
Hmm.
I can't remember the titles. Like when I watched it when I was a lot younger,
Yeah.
when I was in the military, covering the week, filling out a weekend, a few weekends in a row. But it was cool.
Hmm.
But it was like that one, that anime, and I believe there is a planets anime series too that would be good to kind
Oh,
of
really?
go back and watch if I can find it,
Uh,
pay
yeah.
for it, find it, not not collect it some other way.
Yeah.
Because
Is
you
it
do
kind of
want to.
buried into like a Blu-ray, or is it like in a streaming service or something that we could maybe track it down in? I know it's like if it's in a streaming service, it's like easy to track down, but like if it's like buried into a DVD or Blu-ray, it's hard to recommend because it's almost like hidden media.
Yeah, I think I didn't for sure look. I kind of sort of did like a 5 second minute search for it on
Hmm.
Amazon. I think I saw it, but I know that I think I don't I think I might have to pay for it. But regardless, what were
Hmm.
the things that I really liked about it were the characters were more human.
Hmm.
It was much more human appeal kind of thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's almost like this is more of the positive side of life, I think, compared to like something like The Expanse, so to speak. Like, where The Expanse is a little bit more very darker and ominous, and you have different
Hmm.
parts of humanity that are kind of pulling apart from each other. This isn't like that at all.
Right.
This is a lot more. It would be like you or me, kind of doing our thing, at 2075 or whatever, but in space.
Hmm. Right.
Um, there
Hmm.
is drama. There is a little bit of action, but it's nowhere near the level of action. It's a different kind of flavor of it. It's like I said,
Hmm.
it. I was like I was surprised because the mundane parts really fit in with the high parts and the low parts. And I don't want to
Hmm.
spoil anything, but of course I can't
Right.
spoil too much without completing the thing. But in any case,
Hmm.
it got me excited to to finish it out. And then I
Hmm.
really do want to go on to the Vinland Saga. I don't know anything about that series. I don't even know if it came before
Hmm.
or after this one. But
Yeah.
as I know more, I'll relay more,
Yeah.
and then I'll,
Yeah.
I'll throw it over to you,
Mhm.
because I kind of spent like about 10 minutes here talking on this one. But I
Oh
would
yeah,
say
no
it's
worries.
recommended. you have time. It's easy to drop in. I didn't have any problems like catching back up to where I was. I read the first 50 pages and then another 50. Then I finished it off, and I re-reviewed the first parts just to kind of refresh my memory.
That's the thing with manga, is that it's easy to read. Like the pages, like, you know, there's not a whole lot of dialogue or introspection on the pages. You know, you kind of flip through them very rapidly. In the manga that I really like, there's a horror manga writer called Junji Ito, and he's like the guy, my go-to guy as far as manga. Let's see, yeah, Junji Ito. Yeah, he's. There's been like some movies and I think some anime that's been done on his stuff, but he's like very physical horror kind of guy that he makes you feel uncomfortable
Sure.
as far as what he writes. And then he also writes like these fun these comic books about, or mangas about his cats. so he's got like this very interesting diametric opposing thing going with his writing. But yeah, he also did an adaptation to Frankenstein, which is really good. He adapts the novel Frankenstein into manga, which I highly recommend. That one's really good.
Okay, that's cool. So that's I'm not sure if that belongs to a series or if it's just one thing, but
yeah, it's just one thing.
Okay, yeah. So that would be for anybody, for recommendation's sake, the Jinji Ito horror comic collection, and that's volume 16, Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's one of those. That's one of those that's always kind of recycled as a concept. So it's kind of cool to see how it's redone, and just kind of dipping in a little bit on the horror side. You remember The Ring? From a long time ago, that horror movie that kind of took over America for a little bit.
Yeah.
You call that one? There was a Japanese one that was based off of, though. And I saw the Japanese version. I believe it was that one. And it was a lot more. It was a lot creepier than it was a different kind of creepy, and a different kind of like make you want to lock the doors and check the locks 3 or 4 times before you go to bed, that kind of thing. I remember then, like, the American version of The Ring.
Yeah, as far as we only touch upon it since we're not really going to this episode, but Japanese cinema, as far as what's popular, seems to be very diverse as far as what's popular here in America. Some really weird stuff can kind of be popular in Japan. Like there's a Japanese director that I truly love that's really popular in Japan, named Takashi Miike, and he comes up with some really strange movies, which I hope to recommend here, and we can maybe go over in the future. But
to kind of touch on that real quick, we kind of touched on it here or there about doing a horror, but I think we probably do need to do a couple of them, because there's a lot that I've learned from you in that genre. That it's a lot more than the stupid. Well, not stupid, but like it's a lot more out there than just Friday the 13th or I to be honest with you, like I kind of, at least modern pop horror films like the Purge and Saw, those kind of like franchise ones. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're good, but I haven't watched beyond the first or second one. I'm just not interested. Like, and then
Yeah.
whatever.
And I don't know if you're familiar with A24, but a lot of their movies, like The Witch, and Hereditary, are really good horror movies that are art house movies that really kind of bring horror movies into a very artistic sort of uh, realm of things. But again, not really where we're focused here.
Yeah. So kind of pulling it back into the comic book realm. I don't really. I mean, I can cover the Amazing Spider-Man. I'll do this. I'll recommend it as like a kind of a mid thing. The Ben Reilly epic. It's just.
And to be honest, I know I'm supposed to be the horror guy, or the comic book guy, but as far as Ben Reilly is concerned, I really are not really familiar with his saga. I would kind of dipped out of Amazing Spider-Man at that point. So you're sort of like the expert here. So go ahead and give your overview of this.
Yeah. So basically the gist is like there's a clone of him and then it kind of goes back and forth. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I didn't come prepared with notes as much as I wanted to finish the manga one.
But, oh yeah, no problem.
And you know what? I might save that I might put a bookmark in it and I might save it for next week because there's a lot I want to say about it, but I don't want to. I don't. If I don't do my notes, then I'm gonna run it with spoilers. And then there's another one too that I like, which is Superior Spider-Man. That's like my favorite of all time for Spider-Man. Controversial for sure. That one is a little bit more straight up. Well, kind of. I like these things that are like kind of go back and forth. But anyway, with that in the vein, I've talked too much. I feel like I've talked too much. So you had these shifting gears here. What was the comic?
Oh, before you shift to, I was going to mention that as far as Ben Reilly, he's center focus of the current comic book as far as Amazing Spider-Man. He's come back into focus because there's a group of investors called the Beyond Enterprise, I think that they're called, and they're funding Ben Reilly as Spider-Man in the current comic book. So he's the current Spider-Man, and Peter Parker has been waylaid by a toxin, so he's sort of like in the hospital, sort of recuperating from an injury, and Ben Reilly is the current Spider-Man in the current comic book.
Okay, so he's kind of been like Wolverine, where he lost his adamantium.
He's sort of like kind of physically diminished, and like Black Cat and Captain America are trying to retrain Peter Parker to be Spider-Man, try getting back up to speed to be back to superhero status. And meanwhile, Ben Reilly is taking over as Spider-Man.
Okay, that's cool. That probably means I need to go get some more go get caught up on this current arc.
Yeah, and if you like Green Goblin, and then there was Hobgoblin. Now there's Red Goblin, this woman that they've kind of made into a villain to face off against Peter Parker and Ben Reilly. And cool. I won't go into her backstory because a little spoilers, but yeah, she's she's an interesting villain.
Okay, very cool. And you had shared these links here before too. Which one did you want to cover first here, and why?
Yeah, that one's fine. The Black Terror is an old school comic book character that's been kind of flowed into public domain, and this creator Von Kloss he's made a Kickstarter for this character, for this comic book. And if you kind of scroll through, he's done some comic book pages for it. But yeah, this is one that I've kind of leaned towards you because I really love the artwork for it, and it looks very interesting as far as what he's doing with this old character that was in public domain, that was this kind of languishing in obscurity, and he's kind of made it into a really cool kind of comic book character that really gets me interested in reading it.
Yeah, that yeah, when you share this, and I just saw the first kind of little thing with the cutlass in his teeth, or the knife in his teeth, like I was like, I like this. I want to see it.
Yeah, and this is Indiegogo. It's sort of like Kickstarter, in that what you're doing, if you do fund this, is you're putting money towards the eventual publication of this thing. This doesn't guarantee that it gets published. Now, this creator did put together a previous comic and put out through Indiegogo. So he has a track record of fulfilling a comic book. So I feel pretty confident in recommending this. But with Indiegogo, there's no guarantee. So just
Sure.
as a precursor of this, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I like this. And this is let me make this go back to center here.
Yeah, I think just the signed comic books is like 25. And I say comic book, but it's a graphic novel. I think it's like it says 78 pages. So it's a 78-page comic book or graphic novel, and it's signed for $25.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, we kind of talked about that, our meeting our heroes a little bit last week, but anyway, it reminded me of that anyway. And then this is the other one.
Yeah, and along the theme of things that have gone into public domain, there's Nosferatu, Narwhal, who's a very interesting artist. I really like his art style, but this is his, I think, fourth campaign. So he has a track record of fulfilling this, and I think I watched an interview with him the other day, and he actually has finished this comic book. He's actually just getting the orders in right now to fulfill it. So uh, this is completely finished and will be published and sent out. So it's very low risk as far as a Indiegogo comic book. But if you kind of go through it, the art looks really stylized and really cool.
It looks, boy, this, when I say crisp, this is what I mean by crisp. And this is a lot like how Planets was like laid out. Like it just like, there's not a lot going on. I mean, there can be, but it's really the focus of the panel at the time is on what's going on. Very much like this. Very, very much like this is like classic, classic. I don't know. I'm not an artist. I'm not even pretend to.
Yeah, there's like artists that are really detailed and very minute as far as what's on the page, and that's awesome. But like this is like really stylized and very mood centered. It's like you really know what's going on in the page just by the very brief strokes. Yeah.
Cool. No, I like this. I think,
and
this isn't too bad.
And this one, he's offering a either a hardcover edition or a soft cover, and I think the soft cover is only $20, and I think the comic book's like 88 pages or something like that.
Okay.
But I think the hardcover is like 35 or or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, the it really looks very exciting, and like I said, this guy's like fulfilled several different campaigns. So again, it's still a risk as far as public, these funding things, but he's funded like three other campaigns, so just relatively low risk. And like I said, he's already admitted that he's finished this comic book, so
That's good. So
he's
it's
just
a known,
waiting to fulfill it. Hmm.
yeah, known quantity. That's good. And I don't
Hmm.
haven't come across it. Like I'm familiar with Indiegogo. And Kickstarter too,
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, if you notice, he only asked for 3,000. He's way past that. It's $21,000.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, did you want to go on to cover anything else on your side of the fence for comic book stuff before we hit up recommendations in YouTube?
Yeah, there's a comic book. I think you had it pulled up. The Suicide Blaze. Yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah, yeah, if you're familiar with the movie The Suicide Squad and also Peacemaker, how crazy those properties are. Um, Peacemaker just finished up last week. It was a really good series, and kind of over the top kind of humor and action and
I
just gore.
Yeah, to piggyback on that real quick, I did watch the first episode
Hmm.
of Peacemaker, and I didn't quite know what to expect, but basically,
Hmm.
it was funny. It was really, really funny. But I didn't expect
Hmm.
it to. I don't know what I expected, but I mean, off the
Yeah,
strength of your recommendation, and I plan on finishing it. But I
yeah.
really like that Suicide Squad compared to the first one.
Hmm.
It was a lot more. I don't know. It just did the different parts right, and I think the actors were a little bit more down to earth than like some of the big name ones that like were just kind of
Hmm.
more aloof. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I thought Will Smith was a
And
little bit more
yeah.
aloof in the first one, but anyway, but this
Hmm.
is the continuation of that in a way.
It's not the continuation, but it sort of like has that same kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
There's the basic storyline for Blaze is that there is a super being, sort of like Superman, that is going throughout the world, just appearing, and he's like killing and eating certain people. He's
Hmm.
just random people, and so he's being very random about it. So it's very hard for like the Justice League to figure out who's doing it. So it's up to the Suicide Squad to find this individual. And the basic storyline is that they pick five different individuals to that are in the prison system to inject superhero powers in them. But the thing is, with the superhero powers, is that they only live, I think, for like 3 months or something like that.
Oh wow.
So they have a very small timer, and like their original Suicide Squad are like their ringleaders to make them kind of stay in line. And it's kind of told the story is told in the perspective of one of those guys, and he has a love interest that is also involved in this. But it's kind of an interesting kind of a personal story that if if all you want to read is the story, it's kind of make a kind of an interesting story to it. And it's only 3 issues. It's kind of an oversized story, so it's like 48 pages. So it's a the comic book kind of comes in like a graphic novel kind of format. But yeah, it's if you're kind of into the Suicide Squad after the movie and the series, it's kind of a fun read.
Yeah, this kind of reminds, I mean, just this sentence here, that a metahuman with all the power of Superman, but none of the humanity. That really reminds me of, I can't, it's because I have
It's
stars.
sort of like the boys, but sort of like the
Yeah, I was thinking more,
opposite perspective.
I was thinking of,
Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking more of a famous Superman spinoff. What it was basically where Superman was born and raised in the USSR and Soviet
Oh yeah,
Russia.
Red Sun. Red
Yeah,
Sun.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, Red Sun. Thank you. Thank you. I was gonna say Red Star, but whatever. That's just because I have this all-star, a little bit of a Superman fan.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And what you were talking about it before, and it kind of reminded me. Suicide Squad is like where all the kind of dirty, the dirty trash. Exactly. That's like you said, the boys. Like it's kind of like the like here, you guys got to figure out this crap. We're too good for it, or you know, you're not going to see Teen Titans on the case, or Justice League or anything like that.
Yeah, they kind of have to clean up the bad stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, since they're in the prison system, they get planted with the tracker where if they don't fulfill their mission, they end up being killed. So they're kind of encouraged, so to speak, to finish their project.
Very cool. So that looks. I like how that naturally dovetails into what the Suicide Squad and then the Peacemaker. And I started to watch it with one of my kiddos, and I was like, okay. Well, I had to stop it right away. Like I didn't let it go beyond like a couple minutes. I'm like, okay, nope, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, it's not really kid friendly. And one thing is I love about the series is that it's and we tend to ban on Disney, and this is no this is a case of that as well. Is they DC really knows how to do television series or streaming series. This series is really good.
We were, you know what we're gonna have to do for another show, I think, just random. We're gonna have to do an all DC one, and then we'll have to do an all Marvel one. From that standpoint,
definitely.
because I know you had, I think we talked about it after the show, but there is a whole bunch of more adult oriented, not like adult, but like just adult oriented, made for like some of these storylines, like All-Star. I think All-Star Superman was done. There's other Batman ones. There's Justice League arcs that are done, but it's the animated series that's a movie length, full feature length. They did that are very good, and they've done that for a long time. And we kind of talked about that, but
yeah,
we'll have to cover that. I think we'll have that. I think that bears worth, and also kind of spin off. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And I think we touched on it a little bit, but to kind of speak truth to power, there was a short period of time where on the CW, there's the Arrowverse, and everything has a rise and everything has a fall. I'll just put it that way. And typically, the longer something goes on, the less fun it is. The less it's, you can only do the same storyline, the same template so many times. But I definitely recommend the first 3 seasons of The Flash, and probably the first 6 seasons of Arrow, of the Arrow. And then I'd probably say it's up to you if you want to keep going or cut it off after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I make fun of people that like tell me that, oh well, if you watch you have to suffer through the first 3 seasons of whatever series is really bad, but once the 4th season kicks in, you really will like it. I was like, I don't really have that time to deal with it. And I was told that about Arrow, that I guess the first 1 or 2 seasons aren't all that great, and that then you really like it. But I did watch The Flash, and I did enjoy the like you said, the first 3 seasons were really awesome.
Yep.
And after the third season, I was like, okay, I think I understand the series, and I think I'm done.
It's kind of the same feeling. And again, we've talked about Disney and Marvel and all that and stuff, but it's kind of like this. After I used to be able to name them all in chronological order, from Iron Man 1 all the way out to the second to last Avengers movie or whatever. But after you pumped out 20, 24, 25, going on 30 movies with the same kind of broad universe, you kind of get, it's not for lack of the love of it, it's just like you get burnt out. And obviously they're selling it to kids to a certain degree. So, you know, the market is what it is. You know, like I think we both kind of touched on the way that modern Star Wars is made is it's made for a different audience, and that's fine. That's wonderful. You know, everybody has their time in the sun with it, and then you kind of move on and you grow and you figure out other stuff, you know. But kind of touching on that, that's kind of like where, like, you know, the Flash, and I love the Flash. I actually learned to love the Flash more because of that TV show. And I got a little bit more in depth of it. And at some point we got to cover the Doomsday, or not the Doomsday, the one with the clock and the never mind, don't whatever. Yeah. But anyway, the point is, after I think each season is like 20 plus episodes, and it's just like okay, like I can't like and then they did some unique stuff, like they did crossovers, like where they would do one episode with the Flash with the whole gang, and then they jump over to Legends of Tomorrow, and they do that, and then they do that, and then you know that but oh man, that anyway, I don't want to get too far afield, but
right. And I think that series leans heavily on Jeff Johns' run on Flash, and also Jeff Johns did a wonderful run on Green Lantern, and he also did a wonderful run on The Blackest Night. He's one of the best writers that DC has ever had.
Oh wow!
And
high praise.
And he's one of the writers and one of the producers of a lot of the new movies and series that are coming out. Like he's one of the guys that's behind like the Titans series. And that's a very strong series. I really recommend all 3 seasons of that. It's very good. And this is coming from a Marvel guy. I'm a huge Marvel guy, but yeah, as far as DC, I will point out whenever DC does great things, and Jeff Johns is a really great guy as far as making great content in comics and on film and on TV.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely check this stuff out. And then with that, we're looking at probably rolling up on final 10, 15 minutes or so, maybe a little less, but we're not timing it here. I think Suicide Squad Blaze, and that's in print now.
Yeah, the first issue's out. The next 2 issues will come out later on. It's a Black Label series, so it's not monthly. I think it's like every couple of months or so. So, yeah, if you want to wait for the trade paperback for the whole 3 issues to be collected, that's fine. But if you want to get like the issues as they come out, like the last issue came out like a week or 2 ago.
Yeah. What I typically do is if there's a current series and I can kind of jump in the midstream, like I have with a few other ones, I'll do that. Otherwise, if I completely miss the train, then I'll just pick up the
and the cool thing is if you can see on my screen there, it's an oversized comic book. So
Oh, okay, that's cool.
yeah, it's I really like these oversized comic books. They read like a trade paperback. It's 48 pages, and it's uh really fun to read. But yeah, I really like the Black Label.
Cool, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, 48 pages. It's out now. I've got the one up on screen, number one. And
Hmm.
then it says number two is coming out April 12th, this year. So
Hmm.
that one's to
Yeah,
be
every
released.
couple of months. Yeah.
And then probably you could probably see it, probably June or summer sometime is when the other one would maybe drop whenever they
Hmm.
do. No announcement yet
Yeah.
on the page here. We're actually on the well, leak of comic
Yeah,
geeks,
that's
DC
yeah,
Comics.
that's the that's the page I usually go to for
Cool.
comic books. But yeah, I think we're going to talk about George Perez,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
which is a legendary creator. Unfortunately, uh, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he's in the late stages of it. But he's a legendary figure in comics. He's done like a lot of different titles. He his main focus throughout his career has been team books. The first team book he did was the Avengers. He did that for several years,
Mhm.
and while he was doing that, he stepped over to DC, and they had him do, I think, Justice League of America, and also he started the Teen Titans book, which is the comic book that I'm most familiar with from my childhood. Uh, he did the first run of the Teen Titans comic book, and he was the creator, one of the co-creators of Deathstroke, and also for the Avengers, he also did Taskmaster,
Right.
uh, which uh, which was for the Avengers. But yeah, um,
Wow. Holy crap. Man.
yeah, he he also did
Gee.
a run on Wonder Woman. Uh, he's he also did the Hulk Future Perfect, which is the Hulk in the future, and Hulk during that time was named Mastro, and
Right.
that series is actually paying off now. Peter David is doing several different continuing stories with that Hulk to this day. But yeah, George Perez did that original series, and the cool thing was back in the day when Marvel and DC didn't have the big Disney or Warner Brothers overlords over their shoulders, they could do like different, like cool crossovers. So the first, I think, crossovers in the 80s was with Teen Titans and X-Men. And George Perez was very connected with Teen Titans, but he held off on doing that crossover and wanted to do illustrations for a Justice League and Avengers crossover,
Right.
and that he did first several pages of it during the, I think, 80s or 90s,
Mhm.
and the that kind of fell through, uh, and they doing ended up doing it in the 2000s, and they brought him back to do the artwork for it, which
Hardcover.
is cool.
Cool.
Hmm.
Very cool. Yeah.
And the cool thing is that just recently the Hero Initiative is actually putting out next month a collected edition of that JLA Avengers crossover comic book for um, Perez, and that's coming out next month uh, as a 70,000 limited edition print.
Yeah, that would be cool to get a hold of, if possible.
Mhm.
But and it says on his bio that he was not electing to. He had pancreatic cancer, but
Mm.
he wasn't gonna he wasn't gonna go through with the treatment.
Mhm.
So that's I believe that's what Steve Jobs died of. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember it wasn't too far before when they announced it, and then it was, like I think it was over the weekend. He passed away, but
Mhm.
hopefully we can pick up maybe you or I could pick up one of these
Yeah.
and maybe
The
cover in the coming weeks here.
Yeah, and the Hero Initiative is putting out that limited edition 70,000 copy edition of it in benefit to
Oh,
George Perez. And the writer of it, Kurt Busiek, he on Facebook, he did print, showed a picture of him showing the new cover for that comic book to George Perez, and it looked like he was very happy about it. So he's aware of this coming out, that it's benefiting him, and I think that's a great thing.
absolutely. Yeah, no, he was given prognosis of 6 to 12 months. Was on December. I want to say last month, but we're already in February, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
dang. I wish him and his family the best. And I definitely want to, because I have come across these when I'm growing up. I've come across some of these storylines like the Maestro and Hulk. That for sure when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. I was a
Yeah,
very young.
and to be honest, the artwork that he does, like for like Wonder Woman and Teen Titans,
Mhm.
whenever I thought of DC, I thought of his artwork.
Mhm.
That was what triggered my mind as far as what DC was.
That's
Um, so so yeah, he's been a very influential figure in my mind as far as what DC was. But
absolutely.
I really didn't know. I really didn't know he spent that much time on the Avengers. And I'm really interested in going back and reading those comic books that he wrote or he drew as far as the Avengers.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Peter David. I've loved Peter David for a long time. Like that's one of
Oh
the ones
yeah.
the writers that I do recall, and he wrote.
Hmm.
He also did some Star Trek novels back in the day.
Oh
Um,
yeah, he did. He
yeah,
did.
he did Imazadi. He was he was known for his work on the Hulk, I believe. Um,
Oh yeah.
but anyway, I need to revisit the Hulk Future Imperfect according to the article here. And that's not
Yeah.
gonna I'm not that good.
Yeah,
Um,
and Peter David, they're Marvel has been collecting recently his work. They're collecting him as giant omnibus collections. I read the first three omnibuses, and there's one more coming out this year that I'm definitely getting. Yeah, he's Peter David. His run on Hulk is legendary,
oh yeah, well yeah, Peter
and
David. That's
yeah.
like
Hmm.
I don't think you're gonna get any better Hulk than Peter David, in my opinion. But that's just my
Hmm.
opinion. That's just like
Yeah.
Peter David
Oh
knows
yeah, and
he knows how to write, and
mhm,
George Perez was the artist on it. It said, just to be
yeah.
clear on the thing,
Oh
because I'm
yeah.
not going to pretend that I know these artists or writers or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know a little bit. I know I lean on you really heavy for
Yeah.
the ins and outs of this stuff for sure.
Oh yeah, and just to lean in on it, George Perez, he did the first three issues of Infinity Gauntlet, which
Yep.
for Marvel, which was a yeah, the Thanos is a storyline for um where he wipes out half of humanity
Right.
For the everybody that watched the movie knows
Right.
knows this. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's not a
he's
spoiler
mhm,
because it's been out for
mhm.
years, and
Yeah,
not just that
yeah.
storyline, but the whole thing. Yeah, sure, the movie's Phase 4 Marvel, whatever it was, like they did it a certain kind of way, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with
Hmm.
that at all. But yeah, Deathstroke. I need to get into that one. That's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's like DC's Punisher, but
Yeah.
it's rolling up in that lane, I think.
Hmm. Yeah,
Anti-hero villain.
there's a current Deathstroke comic book that's coming out that I really have been enjoying, that kind of plays into the fact that he's trying to be good at this point for
Mhm.
his family. Um,
Right.
but yeah, that I really have been enjoying. So
Very cool. Okay. Very
check
cool.
that out.
We'll do. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we'll return next week with maybe not maybe next week or week after that we'll I think we should probably pick one maybe and then we'll go from there or whatever. But we'll do that. We'll do that in
Hmm.
post. That's not
Yeah.
even how you say that right, but whatever. All right, so moving on from there, we had loaded up the site here with the links. I think we covered everything. But
Yeah.
they go from a legend like George Perez to recommendations for like what are you watching on YouTube, Thomas?
Oh yeah. I was going to recommend ComicTropes. He does a really job of going through the history of comic books. He did a episode of George Perez, which I leaned heavily on for this discussion. He also did. He also was a real life superhero and actually ran around with Phoenix Jones, and he did a video on that just recently. But yeah, he does really cool a video every week. One of the other ones that I really liked was his focus on Steve Kirkbert
What
and his.
I was gonna say.
I I'm a huge fan of Howard Duck,
I
and
Yeah, I saw
yeah,
that. I
go
just
ahead.
kind of caught my eye. I was like, I bet he's gonna say something about that.
Yeah, yeah. Howard Duck is like a huge thing for me, but yeah, he does a really good job of going over the creator of Howard Duck, his real life struggles, and but yeah, just pick a video. He does a really good job of various different topics. Um, the newest one I haven't watched, like how Batman was was almost
Almost canceled.
canceled.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds interesting, but but yeah,
it does. It does.
the one that he did the stupidest comic book character that he did a few weeks ago was very interesting.
Pretty good. Where is that? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that one. Yeah,
yeah,
like, yeah.
that's it's funny like when you go through the and maybe that's an well I think that's one we are working on the idea stage anyway of doing like an intro to comic books an episode of that
Hmm.
and we're still not for lack of effort but or planning but more for planning because I really want it to be good to do that. But there is the ages of comic books that I'm sure we'll cover when we're ready for it. But that's cool. Yeah, I love this because
Hmm.
and I did get feedback from some of our audience that they said that they watched the behind or the background. I can't remember the dang name of
Backrooms.
it. The back rooms. Thank you. The back rooms and their kid was like surprised that they knew that they
Oh
were
yeah,
ahead of the curve. So like
nice.
kudos. So like you help the parent be ahead of the curve for their kiddo, and they're like, you know about that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that's cool.
I learned that there's a term for those type of rooms. It's called luminal spaces.
Huh. Okay. What's the thing with that?
Just that spaces that are kind of mysterious and kind of haunted are called luminal spaces.
Okay. Very cool. Interesting. Interesting. Huh.
Hmm.
I got to go back and revisit that. I did watch like one of them, but I didn't. I got distracted and
Hmm.
whatever.
Right.
ADHD mind. Not really, but
Yeah.
cool. Well, I will definitely. I already subscribed off the strength of that, and I already bookmarked a couple of these to watch here in a little bit. And my YouTube recommendation would be kind of along the same lines. Not quite tied into as tight as our last few weeks recommendations, but I followed this guy for years, and I like his take on a lot of things. There's a crew that he kind of runs around with. A lot of these YouTubers that I like and you like, that we kind of have overlap. They have friends, and you find out when they're friends in real life or they know each other. It kind of adds to like the depth of what they're doing. There's another guy that does it. I can't remember him, but I'm not saying I don't recommend him, but I'm recommending Comics Explained just as a channel, because like what he'll do is if you don't know anything about comic books, he will, like, depending upon what series that his videos have grown quite a bit, but God, I followed him for a long time. Like, I think when he had like 200K subscribers, like somewhere between 200 and 500K, and then as he's grown, the qualities, he's kind of has his thing, but he'll kind of roll through a storyline, and then he'll do like a super mega compilation, like that are hours long, that are pretty much, I would put them in the audiobook category.
Right.
But I like how he doesn't just have the comic book there and like go page by page or whatever, but he'll kind of give you the background of like who the artist was, who the writer was, kind of like the ins and outs of why this is important, how it ties into what's going on currently. And then he'll kind of break away and he'll do, I wouldn't say he does DC or Marvel one more than the other, because over time he has evolved, because I think he used to be pretty strongly Marvel, and then he just kind of sort of touched on DC.
Right.
He had a good compilation for the Green Lantern. He has good compilations for pretty much any major arc or series. That's why I really like his take. It doesn't get into the weeds. He just kind of stays down the line, and it's just about the content. It's not about the external, kind of like there's some spicier things that spicier and saltier things that you and I both kind of fall into here and there, that have nothing to do with this. But there are those kind of people too that are fun to watch, I guess, like popcorn, or like a candy bar. But this is kind of like more of like your meat and potatoes kind of coverage, just like the ComicTropes guy is, but for the history, and like why this is important, or like I love that historical angle that he has. I'm really disappointed that the YouTube algorithm didn't recommend that to me at some point, or maybe it did.
ComicTropes. Yeah, you don't worry about him being controversial or not. Yeah, he's pretty middle of the road kind of guy, but yeah, his knowledge of comic books is astounding. At least what he knows as far as comic books. I've grown my knowledge
Sure.
very much through what he has exposed to me.
Yeah, and I'll go through phases, like where I'll get heavy more into this or that on YouTube. I'm sure you're probably no different, but kind of whatever you search for and whatever it kind of shows you. But that's why I love YouTube in general. And most of my entertainment media comes from YouTube, comes from channels like
definitely
Comics Explained or ComicTropes, because it could be 1 week I could be into that, or like more like 1 month or 1 quarter I'm into this, and then I'll kind of lean into it, and I'll get a little bit. I'll lean into it until like I'll pick up a few subscribers, and it's not hard. What I found though is like the good golden band, so to speak, is like when they're not quite at 1 million, when they're in that 200K, even lower maybe, but 150K up to like maybe, you know, 500-600K. And then they kind of, that's when they start to evolve and their production quality kind of, it goes up. I don't know what it is about
Oh yeah.
that band, that range, but if you can get in there, usually you get in on the good side. But ComicsExplained has been consistent. His quality has been really good. His early day, kind of like how like when we try to go live, how our audio quality was either or whatever, and we'll get better as time goes on, hopefully. And I think we have, as long as we stick to the main, to the thing and kind of grow a little bit at a time. But I think we're a little bit over for time, but that's okay. Anything else that you would recommend, comic book wise or movie wise or whatnot?
I think we're good at this point. Yeah.
Cool. I think next week we're going to go into, I'll let you introduce it for next week's show and kind of not necessarily what we're covering, but the general idea of the topic, just the general topic.
Yeah. What we're kind of looking to is, you know, the new year, you know, you try to be optimistic. So we're going to go for an apocalypse kind of feel to it. Maybe look at apocalypse movies, maybe dystopian futures. So yeah, we're kind of looking at those. I we're kind of coming up with movies that we want to kind of focus on at this point. So we'll put in the recommendations down in the description as far as what we're going to cover next week, and hopefully you can kind of catch up with us as far as what we're going to be talking about next week.
Cool.
And if you have any ideas as far as apocalypse movies that you love, you can put it in the description down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, good or bad. That's okay. We take feedback. We're learning and growing here. We're kind of tidally locked, to use a space term. Tidally locked means when the planet doesn't rotate and it's permanently locked, one face of it toward the sun, one face of it not, or toward the star. We're kind of locking ourselves into this format here until we can kind of experiment a little bit better with not the day of, but like maybe the few days before, when we have time to I would like to go live again, and I'm learning those skill sets as we go on. But anyway, we're always improving, and if you have feedback, please let us know. Tell us what your favorite classic comic book story is. Tell us what your favorite manga is that you just adore, that you would recommend to other fans, because we're always learning and growing here. And with that, thanks for another fun week, Thomas, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. See ya.